Hello Internet, your friendly neighborhood gremlin here, and today we're doing something different. Today we're gonna play 100 Days of Sunhaven, and hopefully that's okay. I'm gonna just skip the rambly intro bit because this video is long enough as it is, so we'll just get started. We start our journey in character creation. I, being a total beginner to the game, created a human duelist, which was maybe a stupid profession to pick, because I'm gonna find out in a moment that I can make myself invincible. You can judge me if you want to. I don't like combat, and I'm really bad at it. Video games are supposed to be fun. We make a friend named Lynn on a train ride into town, and there's a dark fog surrounding Sunhaven when we arrive. We're greeted by the mayor and head guard, I think, Lucia and Nathaniel. They brush the fog off as being no big deal, and then Lucia shows us to our house. On our first official day, a woman shows up. Her name's Anne, and she's a merchant, apparently. She offers to sell us some tools, and I managed to barter her down to 150 gold, which wasn't difficult, but also feels kind of like a win. She takes us through the tutorial, and we plant some wheat and that sort of thing. I make some wood planks and clear the farm a bit before heading into town. We come across a doghouse, and my first goal becomes repairing it. We also spend some time introducing ourselves to the people around town. I won't bore you with everyone's introductions, but I guess we will talk our way through the sort of romance candidates as we come across them. We already met Lucia and Anne and Lynn and Nate, and here's Catherine. She's a witch, and also kind of like a bunny thing. Going to the general store starts our first official quest. Also, Emmett, the guy behind the counter, is the guy behind the counter in a lot of shops in town, but it does seem that people in this town have a way of being two places at once. Or teleporting, I guess. And he sends us on a delivery order to the blacksmith, where we run into a baby dragon who's causing some trouble. We're gonna try and catch it, and we're just gonna leave to a bunch of fetch quest running back and forth kind of things, and then eventually we talk Solon, the blacksmith, into taking it in. Though I guess that part happens tomorrow rather than today. Whoops. Anyway, this here is June, and he's a town councilor, and there's Warnhart, the doctor. Am I saying that right? I don't know. We're gonna call him Warnhart. If that's not right, I guess it's not right. While we're doing the Dragon Quest thing, we meet Kitty, and she runs an animal store where we'll be able to buy farm animals later if we get a barn. And given that she's a cat, she offers help with the dragon thing and says she needs a fish. This gives us access to the fishing rod, and I'm really bad at fishing in this game. Thankfully, I don't have to catch the fish for this quest, so we'll deal with the fishing thing later. We spend the rest of the day introducing ourselves. We meet Claude, a composer, who might be my favorite. The man is as antisocial as I am. Also, Claude is the name I give all of my phones, so I'm a little partial. The last achievement of the day is getting enough wood for the doghouse. 2 children talk us into letting them build it, so it'll be a few days before it's done. Day 2 starts with watering our crops. This is a farming game. Every day we'll start with watering the crops, but I'm not going to mention it every time. We pick up our first piece of mail and head into town to get the fish from Kitty for the dragon really early, and so we kill some time learning that I can't fish and running into Liam. We do not get off to a good start. There's a bunch of wheat, and apparently I'm a thief in video games, so I try and swipe some. Liam quickly arrives to tell us off, and I apologize because I didn't know anyone was going to be mad about it, but now we know. Don't take other people's crops. Liam runs the bakery, and he has 2 little sisters. When we finish the Dragon Quest thing, we go back to exploring town, and I wander into the library, where, shock horror, there are books that we can read. Mostly just lore stuff, really, but there's this important looking book that I can't interact with. Maybe it will be important later. The rest of the day is spent doing some sort of smaller quests and clearing out more of the farm. It's another one of the things I'll probably stop talking about, because this game doesn't have a stamina bar, so I'm gonna spend the last couple hours of every day clearing out the farm. I try my hand at fishing again, and even though I get a perfect catch, the thing I caught was a tin can. But this game actually gives you bonus rewards when you complete quests, some of which I can choose fishing experience. So we're just gonna fudge it until I can get some skill point rewards that will make fishing easier. Day 3 starts with a visit from Anne. She gives us a furniture crafting table, and behind her is Lucia, who tells us about a town tradition. We have to go to Dragon's Meet to see Elios. Elios? Elios. He's the town guardian, I think. Anyway, we're gonna have to go and receive his blessing, so she offers to take us there tomorrow, which means we just have a free day before we have to do any more story quest things. We get some more mail, which is gonna happen pretty much every day, but also makes me feel excited every time. Besides, most of the letters come with gifts. We spend the morning doing farm work, and then we go to the beach for the first time. There are a ton of shells and seaweed and other forageables. I don't know if they're good for anything but selling in the occasional quests, but we get them anyway. We also learn that our tools will not damage monsters. We have an axe, which I would classify as a weapon, and it does have a damage stat, but it doesn't hit monsters. so I guess we'll figure that one out later. We ran into June, and he wants us to put some flowers around town for like an experiment or something. The first 3 are extremely easy, but the bridge flower screws me up for a really long time. We ran past it a few times, and I visit every bridge in town. I ended up having to look it up, and even knowing where it was, it takes me a whole minute to see where it actually is. I'm not the most observant of humans, and there are a bunch of like dilapidated buildings around town. It looks like if we donate enough materials and gold, we can open up more shop types, one of which is a clothing store. And that's where we're gonna put our goal first. Around the world are a bunch of like Totoro-esque beasts blocking the way. It looks like we feed them and then they'll open shortcuts or possibly new areas. Today we go to Dragon's Meat, so we head off into town. The doghouse is completed, but there isn't a dog who lives there. Not sure about that one. Probably we'll figure that out later. So we meet Lucia at Town Square at 10 a.m. I'm early, because I'm always early. And she just like materializes at 10, so I guess it's teleporting that they're doing. And then we're off to see the wizard, or Elios. He's kind of like a giant lion dragon thing, so I don't know that he counts as a wizard. And Elios requires a glimpse into our innermost soul. So he asks us like the personality quiz questions and then tells us there's power in us, then gives us his blessing, which means we can do magic now. The next main story goal is to achieve level 15 in one of our skills. We go check out the mines for the first time today. Apparently we can find keys to the next levels, but we have to craft a specific key or the floor won't stay open forever. I guess we'll have to get a furnace and an anvil. We proceed to spend the rest of the day in the mines. I hit level 6 before having to head home. We wake up to a surprise on the 5th day. Some sort of giant weed has shown up on the farm and says he won't leave unless we beat him a jump rope. And that's gonna go badly, but the weed says we can get someone from town to help us. So we head into town, and apparently Liam's younger sisters are really into jump rope, and they agree to help us defeat the weed. What the game neglected to tell me is that I was also expected to jump rope, and if I fail, it's over. Not sure what the girls are for, but whatever. I try a few times before I decide to stop embarrassing myself. I guess he gets to stay. On the plus side, clearing away all the weeds levels up my farming skill, so it's like better that he stayed, right? We then head into town to settle a bet between Ronald and Mari. Ronald thinks that no one around here is brave enough to go into the forest and kill leafies. He offers to pay us if we come back with 5 leafy leaves. I guess we're gonna have to make a sword now, and we need copper, so we head into the mines. Copper ore in hand, we head home and put them on the furnace to smelt. Apparently I also picked up some books when I was in the mine, and they contain elf lore, but we put the sword on before we head to bed, so it'll be done in the morning. After our farm tours are done, we collect the sword and check the mail. It's Friday, so we have some blue rose seeds that come in the mail, which is a perk I bought with skill points. I figured free seeds couldn't be bad. While we are wandering around trying to figure out where the forest is, a quest log would tell me, but I don't know that just yet. We stumble into like a training area, and we meet Rosa, and she gives us a combat tutorial. Pretty sure she's like officer of the guard or something, and she lets us keep the crossbow that we used in the lessons. Claude is my favorite. I decided that we're gonna romance him, and we stop by the record store to get some records to use as gifts so he'll like us faster. The east side of the map looks like it leads off into a forest. It is a little bit hard to tell because the entire town is surrounded by clouds, but we head out that way anyway, and it is indeed a forest. So I head in and fight some enemies looking for leafies. We don't find them, but we do find a guy who runs a taxi service. His wheel is missing, so we agree to find it for him. Having failed our actual quest, we run into Claude on our way home, and he really likes the folk record that we gave him. We awake on day 7 to find that some pink alligator dragons have been eating our crops, and decide to build a fence. And we finally think to check the quest log and learn that the leafies are in the forest west of town, and we head off to murder some. They are not hard to find. There are like 2 of them waiting for us when we enter the forest. 5 leaves in hand, we run back up to the tavern for our reward, which is only like 200 gold, so I take the 325 as the bonus prize because we are broke and records aren't cheap. I complete a few quests before heading home to clear the farm a little bit more, and then we hit level 15 and farm it. Thank you, Mr. Weed. And then Elias asks us to come see him. We wake up on the 8th day to find that it's raining, which is nice because I don't have to water the crops. I collect the first haul from our fishing nets. It seems that fishing nets will give me fishing experience. We check the mail and there's a letter from Claude. I think he likes us too. First on the agenda for the day is to go see Elios, and Rosa agrees to accompany us to Dragon's Meat. He seems to be really worried about Sunhaven and needs to go talk to some other dragons about it. He is the guardian of town, and so he'll need to cast a protection spell before he can go, and he needs us to bring him a crystal. He then offers us our choice of iron tools. We take the pickaxe, because the only other one I'm high enough level to use is the hoe, and I don't see any reason to upgrade that one, at least not yet. Elios needs us to head east, but I am really desperate to upgrade the watering can, so we head into the mines and reach level 11, which is exciting because it's a treasure chest level, which means we get treasure. We wake on the 9th day to find that the weed creature is gone, and having accomplished our personal goal, we set off east to get the crystal for Elios. But when we find the crystal, there are 3 thieves who try to stop us. I do manage to reason with the first one, but I'm not paying the other 2 guys off, so we fight them. We grab the crystal and stop off to give the taxi guy his wheel. He then claims he needs an iron bar. The wheel won't fall off again. Conveniently, someone just mailed us some iron bars, so we hand one over and he offers us a free ride home. But during our conversation, I notice there's a spider web on that tree behind us, and I really want the silk, so I tell him we're not ready to go yet, get the silk, and turn back, and now apparently it costs 100 gold. Turns out the free ride was an extremely limited time offer, which is rude, but whatever. We take the taxi into town before getting Rosa and heading off to Dragon's Meet. Helios thanks us for the crystal, casts a spell, and heads off, promising he won't be gone too long. On our way to the tavern, we run into a cutscene, and it's the first thief begging to be let into town. It's a video game, so I get to make the choice, and I decide to let him in, because he listened to reason in the woods, so hopefully he's not a bad guy. His decision cannot be undone. So I really hope it was the right choice. There are more fetch quests completed, and then I go and fight the beach crabs that were unharmed by the axe, because I got a sword now. And then we go to bed. The morning of the 10th day, we check the mail, and it seems that Rosa's been talking us up to Nate, and he sent us an iron sword, which, saves me the trouble from having to make one. So, thanks, Nate. We stop in to tell Anne that we sold all the wheat she wanted us to, and she offers us some skill books as a reward. We take fishing, and then the game gets mad at me, and I couldn't make the screen be on black. It does say it saves the progress automatically, so hopefully I don't lose anything. It does indeed seem like it saved all of our progress. But apparently you spawn in the house every time you load in. I end up behind Claude's house where I find this cute little secret garden area. Not really anything to do here, but I like it. I noticed a rather suspicious looking guy at the back of the tavern. He tells us his name is Vitus Varnus, but then seems to imply that that's a false identity. So who knows what his name really is? Apparently he came to Sunhaven looking for something. I don't know what, but we wish him well. And then he will go on to ignore me every time we try to talk to him after that. Day 11 begins with a vision from Helios, and apparently something bad could be happening, and he asks us to come see him straight away. I don't really know why we have to go see him when he can show up in our minds, but whatever. It also looks like the fences do not stop the pink dragons from eating the crops. I'm pretty sure it told me about fences. It said that it kept things in and out of places. It's gonna take me a really long time to realize that what I need is a scarecrow. Not sure why. This is not my first farming game. We'll get there eventually, but we have to save the world. So we head off to see Helios. Turns out that the dragon guardian thing of a place called Withergate is casting a spell that's causing all the darkness, and that's bad. Helios suggests that we head west to find the world dragon, because we're definitely not strong enough to defeat Dynas just yet. The only trouble is that the world dragon resides in an elven village, and the entrance to the city is hidden, so we head back to town to find a solution for that problem. Obviously, the correct place to go when you're trying to research something is the library. And the librarian says she has a book that might help us, but we need special permission to be able to see it, because it's an antique. We go see Lucia, and she says we can see the book if we wear silk gloves. So I put those on the loom to craft, and we head off into the mines to waste time. Fishing nets are great, by the way. I'm already up to level 6, and I haven't had to do any actual fishing. Peter decides that now is the time to tell us about fishing nets, but we already have 2. And then he gives me the level 1 permit so I can have more nets on the farm, but I already bought and used a level 1 permit, and you can only use 1 per world, so I guess we'll have to save it for the elf city. But the gloves are done, so we head back to the library to see the book, and it is written in Nelvarian, which we can't read, but apparently the town drunk is an elf, so we go ask him to help us. He also can't speak Nelvarian, but the librarian tells us of a legendary stone that when held is basically Google Translate, but better because magic, which sounds great, but also we don't have it. So we go ask Anne to see if she's heard of it, as she trades in rare and valuable items, and she hasn't, but she buried it in the forest somewhere, because that's what she does with her treasures, and the guy who buries them has a bad memory, so she agrees to loan us the stone if we find all of the buried treasures. Not sure why she wants them all now, but means to an end and all that, so we go on a treasure hunt. With the stone in our hands, we head back to the library, and contained in the book is a 4-line poem that doesn't seem particularly helpful, so we head back to the drunk elf. Turns out it's just like a common lullaby, but the elf thinks he knows what it means, and he'll tell us. If we pay off his tab, which he promised to pay in magic elf grapes, and the tavern owner really wants those instead of cash. Luckily, Edwin has grape seeds, and they will grow overnight because magic. But we wake up to find that the grape seeds have not grown, they died. We head back to the elf, and he neglected to tell us the grapes need to be infused with mana to grow. I don't know why he's being so difficult about this. I'm paying off his tab. We go and talk to Lucia, because we don't know how to infuse things with mana, so with our new knowledge in hand, we go back to the elf, and he gives us some more seeds, and I plant the grapes again. but they won't be done until tomorrow, so I had to check out the weird fish building behind the library. Turns out it's a museum with the oh-so-familiar problem of not having anything to exhibit. The curator tells us the museum will soon be full of artifacts, but he's lying, and we offer to fill the museum for him. He makes us recite a pledge and join the Sunhaven Museum Society to access the exhibits. I mean, I'm doing your job for you, but I guess I'll play along and be a member of your made-up society. We check out what they need and deposit a few things before heading off to bed. And the grapes have indeed grown this morning, so we collect those and head off back to the tavern. But on the way, I stopped at the museum to donate some things, and I'm dumb, and I donated one of the grapes that we needed. So we're one short of the goal. I spent the rest of the day doing quests and getting stuff for the museum. A rock monster has come to our farm this morning, but some of the rocks he's throwing on the farm are gold ore, and I haven't found any of that in the mines yet, so I decide to let him stay. And today is the day that we finally realize we need a scarecrow to protect the crops. We arrive at the tavern with the correct number of grapes, and I guess he didn't really want to help us because he was under the impression we wouldn't be able to grow them. I guess someone forgot to tell him I was the main character in a video game, and therefore I can do the impossible. The man then proceeds to tell us the poem actually doesn't mean anything, but the elves are really into nature, and us growing grapes should be impressive enough to gain our entrance into the city. We run into Lucia, who says that she and Nate want to see us off on our quest, so we head to the barracks for the official send-off. I suppose it's not a total waste of time, because they give us gifts. Lucia gives us a seal, which adds 10 additional mana to our bar, and Nate gives us some boots with a speed boost on them, for which I'm extremely grateful, because running in this game makes a snail look fast. But with all the hullabaloo and stuff, it's now midday, and I don't know how long it's going to take us to get to the Elf City, so we waste our afternoon in the mines. This morning we set off west to find the Elven City, and get stuck or lost on the way. But we do find a gauntlet tower that is guarded by a slime monster who's glitched, which means I get to fight him every time I want to enter and exit the tower. Anyway, the guy that we're supposed to free from the slime is inside, and he tells us this is the Dungeon of Trials. There are 30 floors, and we get treasures for advancing. Given that I'm invincible, this kind of feels a little bit like cheating, but we do learn the incredibly valuable lesson that we can jump on mushrooms. We get as far as level 16 before heading out, and then fight the slime monster again to go home. We do not set off into the forest again this morning, because I still think I'm lost or doing something wrong. I spend the day completing quests and getting museum things. I was mostly just hoping to run into someone who would tell me how it was I was supposed to get to the Elf City, but we don't find one of those people, so we set off into the forest again, determined to find our way. When we arrive at the place that I was stuck, I noticed the very obvious mushroom, which I now know you can jump on, and we're able to continue on our quest. When we reach the entrance, we're stopped by an ent, and we try to talk our way into the city, but he's part of a pair and cannot make this decision alone. Inconveniently, the other half of this pair is the dead-looking tree beside him, but we just learned how to infuse mana into things, and ents are apparently fueled by mana or something. So we infuse the tree, and he is alive again. And because we just saved his life, they let us in. We are greeted by the elf elder, who shows us to a whole farm that they've prepared, a house, and everything. When we get there, we're introduced to his assistant Wesley, who is going to be an ass because we aren't an elf, and Lily, a pink caterpillar thing that's just really excited to meet us. They ask me to grow some acorns and tell me to settle in so they can help the world dragon prepare for my training. We're to meet the elder at the top of the grand tree when I'm ready in 2 days' time. We let Lily tell us about all the ways this farm is different from the other one, and we make friends with a sleeping griffin. In exchange for some purple berries, the griffin will shuttle us between here and Sunhaven, so we don't have to make that whole trek every time. We then head into town to explore, given that we have 2 whole days to wait before we can see the world dragon. We run into Iris, who is a romance candidate along the way. I also find a clothing store, which excites me greatly. There isn't anything I want, so we leave empty-handed. While exploring, I find the mines. Unlike Sunhaven, we need a key to access the mines. Better keys mean bigger floors, and there are 4 different types of floors. It'll be a minute before we get here. Opening the Sunhaven mines seems like a much better use of the keys for now, so I pick up a few seeds and head home. In the morning, we tend our tiny garden and then go back to Sunhaven and tend that garden before we can go to the tower and give it another shot. I don't really get much further as my damage is low and it takes forever to kill difficult monsters. I didn't think it was important enough to record footage of that, apparently. But I mean, we were just wasting time until we can meet the dragon. We wake up in Sunhaven, and the rock monster got bored of us and left. But it turns out that today is World Dragon Day, so we hop on the griffin and head back to Nelvari. We get to the Grand Tree and are met by Wesley, who won't let us use the wind lift to the Elder's office. because we are not an elf. We do find some elves who are not asses, and they tell us there is another way to get to the Elder's office. It probably hasn't been maintained very well since no one's used it in years. We go outside. There's a path we can try there. So we jump on some mushrooms and head up to the Elder's office. Hoping it'll help him like me, I don't rat Wes out to the Elder, but then he arrives and tells on himself. Really, he was trying to warn the Elder that he failed to stop me, but I was invited, so the Elder tells him off. The Elder then offers us a branch from the Grand Tree as a token of friendship between me and Nelvari, and sends me off to meet the World Dragon. But it's never that easy, and in my path is another end. This one, however, is clearly not okay, so we go and get Iris to help us. Iris lets us know that something's been plaguing the tree folk as of late, and we don't want this one to end up like the other one, so she needs some soul sap. She enchants the soul sap and tells us to rub it on Wilt. This seems to do the trick, and now back in his right mind, he lets us in to see Navara. She also insists I show her my innermost self and asks a couple questions. And then we begin the first lesson, perspective. We must do a quest for both Iris and Van, the other romanceable character here, which will show us their opposing perspectives on the world outside of Nelvari. So we find Iris, and she feels that Nelvari should be kept safe from the world outside, and asks us to infuse mana into the orb things around the city that help keep the protection spell charged. We then have our first meeting with Van, and he feels that the world has a lot to teach us, and has hidden something outside of Nelvari that we have to find. I'm not sure hidden is the right word to use though, as it's literally immediately outside the city, in plain sight, not even hidden behind a tree or anything. But we tell Van, and I'm mildly concerned about him, given that my dude thought he had hidden it well. But with the task finished, we go and tell Navara about it. In order to pass the lesson, she asks us our perspective on the whole thing. I have an anxiety disorder and always err on the side of caution, so I say I agree with Iris. But the question seems unfair, given that the point of the lesson is that both have pros and cons. Iris isn't right, Van isn't wrong. They just value different things, and that's okay. And our second lesson is about finding commonality with perspectives different than our own. And the task is to find commonality with Wesley, given that he is very much opposed to our presence, and try to understand where he's coming from. Wesley blows us off, saying the task is a bad idea and isn't worth his time, since he definitely needs to learn the lesson too, but he refuses to cooperate, and so we have to go and ask the Elder for advice. He explains that what Wesley really wants is for the city to thrive, and he thinks the way to accomplish this is to hold fast to tradition. The Elder suggests that we do something as a show of goodwill to Nelvari, and we have to donate 1,000 mana orbs to the donation box. We currently have 309, so this task is definitely going to take longer than the last one. And we are a farmer. One of the best ways I know how to make money is farming. So we tend the garden before heading back to Sunhaven. We received a letter from Bernard saying he needs our help preparing for the Lantern Festival. There's a bit of a moth problem where they kept the fabric stored. I was expecting this to be kind of like a big quest thing, but the man asked us for 2 fabric. Just 2, and we have enough silk to do that. So we run home to make it. It won't be done before town hall closes for the night, so we head to the mines. Ores are super useful, and we need as many as we can get. When I get to the next treasure chest level, I'm surprised to find that blocking our path is not a locked door, but a monster who wants resources to move out of the way. But it's late, and we rush off home. The next few days largely amount to gardening and trying to earn those mana orbs. I do some quests around Sunhaven. We have enough resources and money to repair the clothing store, so we drop that off and also give Bernard his fabric. Then I do another tower run. It goes about as well as last time, so we fight our way back to Nelvari, hoping we'll get a little stronger. I spend a bit of time in the mines and go visit Claude's house, where he suggests I could come visit him at his home sometimes. I mean, I hope so, given that I'm currently in his house. It's his birthday, and I ask him about what kind of gifts he's like. He mentions liking fresh food, as he has lots of stuff and doesn't really need more stuff. I had a record that I'd bought him, but instead I gave the boy Cinnaberry. But I guess he was pretty happy about it, because by the time we returned to the farm, he's already sent a letter containing a record with some of his music. I'm not really sure why I didn't think to get footage of me working on the Nelvari farm, but I assure you, we're doing that as well. There's a purple bear waiting outside our farm today. His name is Scuzzy, and he sets up shop for the day. We pay him in tickets apparently, and he assures us he'll be back on the 25th of every month, so we can save up, I guess. We also run into Lucia's day, and she gives us a treasure map. Not that we see the map, but she tells us where it is. I thought the ascent was north of town, because we always go to the barracks to get Rosa to accompany us, so I don't go looking for the treasure just yet. look, actual footage of me in Nelvari. To kill time before the stores open and I can get more seeds, I go about collecting resources and killing monsters just outside the city. We then proceed to spend the day in the mines. I also feed a snackoon, and it turns out he was blocking the entrance to a bunny farm. The bunnies seem nice, and they let me take some honey and jam. I then head off to kill some cactuses, or prickle pops, and I run into the treasure Lucia mentioned. I have concerns about these NPCs. Like, I'm bad at finding things, but I just happened upon this chest. I didn't even know I was near the ascent until the quest related to the treasure disappeared. There was a chest on the other side of the bridge as well, but that one wanted a Sunite key, and we haven't gotten that deep in the mines yet. We try the tower again, do some nelvari farming, and then head down into the mines to move that beast. But before hitting the send all button, I move the iron ore down to the top bar for some reason, and all does not include those 10 spaces, and now I think I need iron. Defeated by the UI, we head home. Today is festival day. In Nelvari, I decided to try crafting some items to sell. One of those things I rarely remember to do. The Uber socks seem kind of like a good deal, so we make some of those. I then just straight up buy a new watering can. I tend to be stubborn about not buying things I can craft, but we need the adamant ore to make keys, and having a shit watering can is extremely frustrating. I then finally remember the clothing store, so we go in and check it out. I proceed to buy the dress I'm wearing in 2 separate colors. We put the gray one on. When we get to the festival, I feel really dumb for spending all of my money before we got there, but I managed to pick up a festive orange tree, and I hope they'll sell for a good price, but I'm then unable to afford the lantern spirit, which is sad. But the lanterns are pretty, I guess, and they're kind of honoring me at the festival. So I wake up to my crops on fire. This feels very scary, but is really more of a nuisance than anything. You just have to water them twice. With the change of the seasons, we change our scarecrow from a spring to summer one, because there are seasonal scarecrows, I guess. I run around and check the rocks the monster left on the farm, but the only rocks left are copper and gold. No iron. When I head to the mines, though, a snackoon has taken up residence, and I can't get in. I could definitely walk around him, but he's lying on the one and only minecart or something, and guess what he wants? Iron bars. But I don't have any iron ore, and I need to get into the mines to find it. This is a cruel twist of fate. So we fight our way back to Nelvari, because we're still trying to level up for the tower. There's a guy in town for the first half of the month who sells ore. Thank God. So we buy some of that and hand off the iron bars to the snackoon. We then run into Claude at the record store and ask him on a date. I also learned a very expensive lesson. I went to buy summer seeds to plant, but partway through my inventory was full. Instead of stopping me, Emmett just took my gold and gave me no seeds. Today is a mine day, and we get enough iron to satisfy the beast, and now we can descend lower into the mines. We can't stay all day, however, because we have a date with Claude. I think it goes well. On the way home, I complete the spring crops display in the museum. I thought it might be a good idea to try out the new seed maker. Turns out it only works on Sunhaven seeds. When I look into crafting an elven seed maker, I need hardwood planks. The only trouble is my axe still won't cut hardwood. No seed maker for me, I guess. And then we spend the rest of the day in the mines, trying to get enough ore for an axe. The axe is ready this morning, and the adamant axe cuts hardwood. Victory is mine! Seed maker, here I come! Except not really. Apparently elven hardwood is harder than Sunhaven hardwood, and we still can't cut it. In my despair, I make myself a second elven loom. Maybe I shouldn't be judging the NPCs who don't see things directly in front of them quite so harshly. Observant I am not. I accidentally sword slash my way into a spot I can't get out of. I'm very grateful now that we spawn back at the house every time we load into the game. We check out the pet shop for the first time. It seems like a lot of faff, and I don't really want to deal with it now. So we leave. And we run into Claude, and he gives me his house key. And I feel real special. Today we test out the seed maker on the Sunhaven farm. Not as useful as I hoped. And then I pop the supplies in to repair the salon. The angry monster I didn't know we had on the farm left today. I have no idea who he was. Maybe he was imaginary. We then spend some time in the mines. On our way home, we run into Claude and ask him out on a second date. We wake up in Nelvari, and we are over halfway to our 1,000 mana orb goal. It's taking its sweet time, but those dragon fruits are coming in clutch. We'll get there, eventually. Claude tells us he is a one-hit wonder child prodigy. It's nice that he's opening up to us. The internet told me he asked me to be his girlfriend on our second date, but he didn't, so I go and ask him instead. We then put the supplies in to restore the cafe, and I head into the mines. We hit the 3rd treasure chest level, but I don't have a key to advance, so we head out. Claude tells us he doesn't really get the whole marriage thing and isn't really into the idea, so maybe we're not getting married. With enough mana orbs in our pocket, we head straight to the donation box. And as we deposit the last 100 mana orbs, Wesley shows up and he appears very shocked. But I explained that I didn't put in the money to pay for my farm, but because I wanted to give back to Nelvari, because I care about the town too. He mentions working on translating a poem written in ancient Nelvarian, but he does not need help and we should stop bothering him. Except we recently encountered and translated a poem from ancient Nelvarian back to the library. I thought we were going to bring the Stone of Tongues to Wes, but instead we're taking the poem. Apparently Amanda does not believe in giving back artifacts taken from another culture and won't let us leave the library with the book. But as a compromise, she agrees to let me write down a copy of the poem. But she's not going to give me any of her quills to use and insists that I make my own charcoal to write with, which is an objectively bad idea, as charcoal smudges if you look at it wrong and ends up absolutely everywhere. So not the kind of thing you want about a priceless artifact that you can't even touch without gloves on, but the game thinks it's an acceptable substitution. So hopefully nothing goes wrong. When we get back to West, we hand him the poem, because it is, conveniently, the exact poem he was trying to translate. We prove that we've already translated it, and West seems very suspicious of our intentions. So I tell him I came to Nelvari to learn about the elves, because that's what he wants me to say. Really, I'm trying to save the world, but whatever works. Seeing that we too care about history and preserving a record of it, Wes admits that we might have something in common after all, and so we run to tell the world dragon of our success. Our final lesson is growth. Standing on the other side of it, I'm pretty sure the lesson is about cooperation and accepting the help of others, but call it growth, I guess. Navarra asks us to grow something with her. She gives us a mana gem seed, which we plant and water. I spend the rest of the day trying to catch fish in Nelvari. We wake up to a vision from Navarra. Our seed has sprouted, but needs some mana infusion to grow, so we head off to the sanctuary. Van and Iris are there too. This is not a task that can be completed alone. We must work together, as equal parts of a whole, to get the job done. But the three of us are not enough. Conveniently, Wes arrives, and together the four of us make the plant grow. Having completed the final task, Navarro gives us her blessing. We return to Sunhaven, and I buy more seeds when my inventory is full, and we do some more fishing. We're high enough level that the minigame is easier. I still can't catch any of the rare fish though. Today we get our first letter from the Snackoons, which is a perk that I spent skill points on, but it still feels special anyways. And then we try to head north for the first time. We come across an abandoned house and some miners who are low-key kind of assholes and tell us to go home so we don't get hurt because sandstone is heavy. So I mine some to show them, but they don't even bother to notice. We continue north only to be stopped in our tracks by another Snackoon. These things may be cute, but they sure know where to lay to be the most inconvenient. We'll need some wheat and potatoes, so I guess we're not heading north just yet. Today is music festival day, and we run into a shady guy who tells us to see him after the show. The first act is Kitty, who's in a K-pop band she's never mentioned, and I don't think any of her bandmates live in Sunhaven, so who knows when they're rehearsing for all of this. When they're done, I head back to the sketchy boombox band. Turns out he's selling bootlegs of the show. Seriously fast turnaround, given that he's selling records, but magic, I guess. And the second act is Claude. It's great that he feels ready to share some of his music, and I feel like a very proud girlfriend. Even though I play with the sound off, I buy a bootleg record to show my support. Obviously, not the move in real life, but this is a game and it feels supportive, and that's what counts. We wake up to find another monster has come to pester us on the farm, and he is definitely not invisible. The giant squid splashes ink all over the farm, and unlike the last two we encountered, there's no upside to letting him stay around, so I head down to the beach to meet Peter. He takes us to a fishing platform and tells us we need to catch bombfish to stop the squid. I was worried, but at this point in the game, they weren't that difficult to catch. I catch a few and head over to Peter. Turns out the man needs 40. I guess this is our day now. 6 hours later, we have enough fish, and we banished the giant squid. At least he left us some treasure, one of which is a baby giant squid. I thought he was a plushie, like the Snackoons, but no, he's a full-blown pet, but we don't have to feed him, so we'll let him stay and call him Hermie. Today we do some mining, but I really want to advance the story, so I go to bed as early as it'll let me, because tomorrow we'll have everything we need to move that Snackoon. So we move that beast, and I can finally head north. It takes me 6 years to realize I can use the side to make this jump. I'm good at this game. We meet some new enemies as we go, just a nice change, and then I struggle with another jump. So we manage to jump the minute we pause the recording, because of course that's how it works. And we keep moving forward, only to find a magical barrier in our way. On our way back for help, I notice some monster folk creeping on the cliff, but given that I have no idea how we're gonna fix this, I get Rosa and we head off to ask Elios for help. He suggests we talk to Claude, which is great. He's my boyfriend. If there's anyone he trusts with his secrets, it would be me. But he's not ready to share this part of himself yet. I wish I could have just said, I don't need to know why you know about crossing the barrier, but I'm trying to save the world, and I need you to help me, please, because that seems like the better option. But we head off to see Alicia instead. She sends us to June, who suggests we bribe him with food. So we head to Liam's and discover that Claude really likes tomato bread, which is apparently a thing, and it is heavily implied he is a vampire. I think his sprite has fangs, and he is kind of dressed like a vampire. So I don't know why it took me this long to arrive at this conclusion, but here we are. We help Liam water his tomato plants, and he gives us some tomatoes to make into juice. I'm very happy the cooking pot does this, and I don't have to make a juicer. Liam tells us he will have the bread ready first thing tomorrow, so I head back to nelvari to buy myself a broomstick to fly around on. We hand deliver freshly baked tomato bread, sans garlic, to Claude's house, and apparently bribery was the right tactic, because he agrees to talk. We head into the back garden, where he admits he lived in Withergate, but was worried about what people in Sunhaven would think, knowing he came from the city of monsters. And Claude tells us we'll need a super strong witch to break the barrier, and he doesn't think we're gonna find one of those around here. We head off to see Catherine, who thinks she might be able to help, but she needs a few days to look into it further. I spend the rest of the day in the mines. Given that all we can do is wait, I have way too much fun pacing back and forth on my broomstick before heading off to check out the elf mines. And they're mines, but without all the ore. They do give us mana shards, which we can exchange for some items outside the mines, and some other stuff for the museum, and elven stone, which is great, because it's not spawning in the overworld for some reason. Catherine is ready to help us today, so we head straight to hers, and she says she might have a solution to our problem, but she'll need moonlight water for the spell, and only one place in Sunhaven has moonlight water, the garden, around the back of Claude's, of course. So he shows up and is a right ass about the whole thing, trying to say Catherine isn't a real witch. But how would he know? This is a side of him I haven't seen before, and I really don't like it. I guess if it doesn't come up again, we can pass it off as him being insecure about being from Withergate, but I don't feel good about this. Moonlight water in hand, we meet Catherine at the barrier, which she does manage to dispel. The next obstacle in our path is this awful fog maze thing. You can't see the walls, so trying to find your way through is very fidgety. I do manage to find a way through. Apparently that's not the right way, though, so I had to look up a map, and even knowing where I needed to go, it was still hard to find the exact spots we need to advance. Now, through the fog, we meet Charon. Charon? I don't know. I'm gonna say it wrong. Who's obviously named after the Greek ferryman for the dead, but he's only here because he owes a debt to the king, so is it his real name and his parents just unknowingly cursed him, or did he take it on with the job? But the hero's journey is never easy. So we run into our next obstacle on the way to Withergate. Apparently the king's snake escaped and has made a rock slide into our way. Also maybe engraved the rock. Or is it a coincidence that the rock is marked in his image? Or maybe he's not trying to be a nuisance at all, but just really hates rocks that look like him. But none of those questions will be answered. Instead, we meet two elite guards of Withergate who have been tasked with returning the Viper. Somehow the answer is catapulting something at its head. They give us the option of collecting 250 sandstone ore or 50 sandstone fish. I obviously choose the option that does not involve fishing, and the rest of the day is spent mining sandstone. By 3 p.m., we have enough ore, so I head back to the guards, who proceed to shoot exactly one rock at its head, and that knocks the snake unconscious. Doing this also clears the rock out of the way, somehow. No time to question it. We need to get to Withergate, where we are stopped at the gate and taken to see the prince. To get an audience with the moon dragon, we need permission from the king, and the king only speaks to his citizens. But for reasons unknown, they tell me that if I was living in Withergate, I would be a citizen, and there are some apartments with vacancies. Prohibitively expensive, of course, but where there's a will, there's a way, and we are going to become a Withergate citizen. The prince has us escorted out of town with strict orders not to be let in again. More obstacles. The ferryman can take us no further, it seems, but he says there's a way in through the sewers. So we continue forward. There's some new enemies down here and a bunch of trash that I pick up in case it might be useful for crafting. Things seem to be going pretty well until I find a jump that I cannot will my way past. There's apparently a perk in the exploration skill tree that I never picked up called air skip. This seems to be the only answer. So we head back to town hall and buy an elixir of exploration, and then acquire the ability to air skip. When we reach the entrance to the city, we're met by a dog boy named Donovan, who decides he wants to help us because anarchy or something. But who are we to look a gift horse in the mouth? It doesn't matter why, it only matters how. Turns out Donnie knows a guy and manages to land us a deal. We can have an apartment for only 3,000 tickets, and we don't have to pay right away. Obviously, we won't be a citizen until we've paid for the apartment, but we have a place to stay while we earn some tickets. There's even a rooftop farm. We spend the beginning of the day clearing off that rooftop farm, collecting new resources and filling our inventory to the brim, but I don't have a chest. or a way to craft a chest. So, big-brained as I am, I ran down to drop some stuff off at my apartment. We go home for farm chores and to build a chest before returning to try and complete quests in Withergate and earn those tickets. That evening, we return to the apartment, where we learn our stuff was not safe and is gone. Defeated, we head to bed. Back in Sunhaven, we decide to buy a barn. The final snackoon letter came with a whole snackoon. I thought maybe we should make plans to put it somewhere. Not that we'll do that today, of course. Today we wake up in Nelvari to harvest the last of our plants here. Having hit 3 farms a day is kind of a lot, but now we'll only have to deal with 2. And we put down the barn with an automatic feeder and collector, but I don't have any food yet. And I bought a perk that's gonna send me some. I guess the snackoon will have to wait. We finished the Nelvari farming bundle at the museum before going and setting up our farm in Withergate. Now that I've airskip, I can finally reach the wishing well and make a wish, which rewards me with 5 extra mana points. After tending our 2 farms, I spend the rest of the day mining. I try to place a fishing net on the Withergate farm. I tried Withergate fishing and it didn't go so well, but the fishing net won't place. I ended up fishing in Sunhaven for the rest of the day. Today is beach barbecue day, and I am extremely grateful that so many of the Withergate bulletin board requests are fetch quests. This makes earning tickets a lot easier. I am going to check and do these quests every day, but for the sake of brevity, I'm just not going to tell you all of the time. We attend the beach barbecue and win the hot dog eating contest by a fairly impressive margin. All I had to do was click, but small victories, you know? And the barbecue ends with a firework display. I never really understood the appeal of fireworks, but everyone else seems happy, so we'll roll into fall. Today we do quite a bit of fishing in Sunhaven. After failing so hard in Withergate, it's nice to actually catch some fish. And then we do all of our fall planting. We wake up to find that thorny vines are eating some of the plants. Rather unintuitively, you have to hit them with an axe to free them. I use the tickets I've built up to buy a shit ton of seeds in Withergate. Snappy plants seem to have the best return, but they also take 7 days to grow. I then try my hand at the carnival. Turns out you win red tickets, not purple, but the arcade lets me trade the red for purple at a 1-to-1 exchange, so I don't lose anything. In fact, I think I came away with like 25 more tickets. This is not going to be a viable way to pay off our debt. I finally take the paper bag off my head, mostly just because I bought a beret. And we win the tower. Our morning is just Withergate quests, one of which asks us to go and defeat monsters, so we head into the forest out there and then spend the rest of the day in the mines. I try fishing in Withergate again. Turns out you can't place fishing nets on other farms, even if you use a permit. I remember the item description of the fishing permits mentioning each tier can only be used once per world or whatever. Why bother saying that if I can only place them in one place? Just say you can only use each license once. Anyway, fishing was still too fast, so I head back to the mines. I unlock the rain cloud perk, which makes watering much faster, and I am very pleased with it. We also do some fishing in Sunhaven, where I can actually fish. I'm working towards getting the magic fish bubble perk because it'll catch the hard fish for me. I also asked Claude to marry me. I 100% forgot about the conversation we'd had where he said he didn't really get marriage, but he also seemed pretty jazzed about it when I asked, so I guess he changed his mind. I also managed to successfully catch some fish in Withergate in the pool on our farm. And here you can watch me misclick and not get the fishing bubble perk. Yay! It's wedding day! I do misfire the rain cloud quite a bit. I continue to forget to be worried about my mouse cursor placement. Why doesn't the cloud just go in the direction you're facing? That would make so much more sense. Anyway, I get dressed for the wedding and head to the wishing well. You know, to wish for a good marriage and happy life with Claude. I get 5 more mana. I then proceed to fish until it's time for the ceremony. And it doesn't end with like a kiss or anything, though it looks like I might be trying to do that here. I'm just trying to talk to him. And apparently this is the spot where the prompt was for Claude. But I do the rounds and everyone has nice things to say about us. I try to like officially end the ceremony, but that doesn't seem to be a thing either, so I just ride my broom away. Then I find Claude in the record store to give him the sentimental record that I bought, you know, like to remember the wedding or whatever. Then I fish some more. It occurs to me that Claude will probably still be sleeping at his house, so I go see if I can sleep at his house, and I can't. I don't know if this is a marriage thing, or I can just use other people's beds. I'm not going to test that and pretend it's a special marriage thing, because marriage in this game feels very uneventful. It doesn't really change much. The ring has some nice buffs, though. At least Claude tells me he's happy we're married, and it's nice that we can wake up with him. The rest of the day is just chores and errands and doing quests, putting things in the museum. Then I turn in for the night with Claude. I need more withergate silk, but I've taken all of it off my farm / in the forest outside of town, so I head back to the north of town. Nelvari silk spawns when the ground changes and like the enemies and stuff change. Doesn't work like that here though, so I get a bunch of normal silk instead, and then we head to the mines because I'm really trying to hit the bottom at this point. I head to the withergate sewers to farm some resources for crafting. Turns out all of it's unrefined and I need a recycling machine that I can't make yet, and we find 3 raccoons in a trench coat, but apparently it's none of our business, so we don't try to talk to them. And then we do some more fishing because I really want to catch all the fall fish for the museum. I finally decide that the chest chaos is getting unmanageable, and I'm wasting more time trying to find what I'm looking for than I'm saving by just blindly shoving things in chests. So we spend the entire day trying to sort them out. Chest organization takes forever, and time doesn't even freeze when you open the chest. I hate this, but I do manage to get it done after a day and a half. We go do the withergate bits and then come home to finally put my snackoon in the barn. And then I proceed to chop most of the trees on the farm because my wood reserve is now chests. Another nice thing about the withergate quests is a surprising number of them offer fishing experience as one of the optional bonuses. And now that I can pay off the debt with the plants we have currently growing, I can finally start accepting it as a reward. We then spend the rest of the day in the mines, and by the time we get to Claude's, it's really late. And the game has the audacity to tell me it's too late for visiting. But A, we're married, and I'm not trying to visit, I'm going to bed. And B, the man gave me his house key ages ago. I feel like the game just really does not acknowledge our marriage in any way. As a reward for nearly paying off my debt, I did a little shopping in Withergate, and now I have bat wings on my head. By midday, we're done in Withergate, so we head back to the mines and reach the bottom floor. But it's nearly 9 p.m. and I don't have time for this fight, so we have to turn back and head home. I finished the exploration bundle in the museum after finally finding another griffin egg. We lost the first one to the great apartment robbery, and I finished the flower bundle. We're making good progress on the museum, and then we head back to the mines. Though I did hit the bottom, I didn't have enough keys to permanently open all the floors, and the boss fight seems like it's gonna take a while. Also, I feed the snackoon outside of Glotz. I feel like I should be able to call it our house because marriage, but for clarity, because I have my own house in Sunhaven, we'll just call it Glotz. I finally managed to get the magic bubble perk, and I head to Withergate to try it out, which we do, next to a red monster, dressed as a fish, who is not at all impressed or interested in celebrating my success. We wake up to a bunch of our snappy plants being ready to harvest, and then we head down to defeat the gem hedgehog inhabiting the bottom floor of the mines. We get some unique gems I don't think we can get elsewhere. More importantly, I get the Dizzolite that completes the gem bundle for the museum. I also feed a snackoon who's so lazy he doesn't even leave after you feed him. He's not really blocking anything though, and he did give me a plushie, which was what I came for. I then treat myself to a new skirt from Withergate, and after the daily quest, I'm less than 100 tickets short of my goal. So we go monster hunting and pay off our debt. As a citizen of Withergate, we waste no time in seeking an audience with the king. King Minos says we have to go and get some glorite crystals before he'll let us see Dinos. So we head to the glorite cave, where we run into a familiar face. Does this man only steal glorite crystals or something? I'm still not paying him. So we fight, and he runs away scared. But at least he dropped the crystals we needed. Minos, while shocked that we returned at all, is impressed that we stole the crystals from our tour. Maybe they were working at the mine and not committing another heist. Either way, we're allowed to see Dinos. But our quest says we need to go to Town Hall tomorrow, so we head back to Sunhaven for the night. We awake to trouble in Sunhaven. The fog is worse than before, and there's one of those barriers right north of the border, but Town Hall doesn't open until 8, so I spend the morning fishing. When we arrive at Town Hall, Lucia asks us to talk the town down from a panic. We try to convince them that Withergate is not the enemy, they're just people who want a safe place to live. They're taking it too far, but we can fix this. There does not have to be a war. With the town's fear subsided, we need to see Elios. We go to fetch Rosa, who tells us we no longer need her as an escort, and we set out alone. Elios grants us another blessing and calls us his apprentice. But while we're having this conversation, Sunhaven is attacked, and there are monsters now. With no time to lose, Elios flies us back to town so we can help. By the time we get there, the monsters have been pushed to the outskirts of town, but to banish them completely, Lucia will need us to collect some monster essence. So we head to the outskirts of town to fight and fight and fight until we come away with the 1000 monster essence Lucia needs for the spell. I guess by the time we were done, it was too late or something. Claude, by the way, mentions absolutely nothing of the monsters when we have our morning chat, which is weird, but we head straight to Lucia. The ward works and the monsters are gone, at least for now. We really need to pick up the pace on the whole world saving thing. We're about to head out when Claude arrives. Did he not mention anything this morning so we could have a grand entrance here? Seems a bit dramatic, but he does give us his concerto to present to Withergate as a peace offering. He promises it'll mean something to them. Maybe just letting them know that Claude is living here is enough to prove that peace between the cities is possible. Whatever the reason, we have no time to waste. Lucia gives us an official proclamation of peace from Sunhaven, and we head back to Withergate. The prince meets us in the throne room. No need to bother his father, given that he's so hard at work, sitting in the chair directly behind us, staring blankly into space. Darius insists we meet him in the foyer though, so we will. It seems Claude was kind of a big deal in Withergate, and his word is enough to sway Darius into allowing us to meet with Dinas, who's planning to take over the world with darkness. But we agree to make an offering, which I guess will change his mind somehow. So we head to the altar room, and it seems like we have a lot of work ahead of us. We decide to visit the cafe for the first time. It seems we can buy some of the items we need for the food altar here. We get lucky with a few of them, but apparently the menu is on rotation, and we can't get everything we need. We'll keep checking, but it seems like I'm gonna have to cook. There is much work to be done. I start by planting crops. A lot of crops. So many that I make enough spots for 2 extra scarecrows. By the end of the day, we've made a reasonable dent into this altar business, and we even have a few bundles nearly completed right off the bat. We are going to be extremely busy if we want to finish this offering in time. The days consist of farm tending, withergate quests, gathering resources, fishing, and mining. But given the grind we're now on, I am also on the lookout for museum things we need. We can't complete the museum until summer, but we can aim for completing everything that isn't season locked. We complete our first 2 altars today. The mining altar, which means we can now mine chlorite and upgrade our tools, and the fruit altar, which is arguably the easiest one, but an accomplishment nonetheless. We head straight into the chlorite mines. The doors to these floors don't have temporary keys. We'll need chlorite keys to progress, so the tool upgrades will have to win. A large amount of deforestation on the farm today. We also head in and purchase some farm animals. A sheep, a chicken, and a cow. I'm even big-brained enough to remember to check my inventory space before buying things. Good thing too, because there was not any room. No altars finished today, but we do advance in the chlorite mines. I end up getting really lost. For some reason, I find the Withergate map nearly impossible to read, but we do find the Withergate mines. However, you have to pay tickets to get in, and you only come out with candy corn. And none of the things we need for the altars are bought with candy corn. We spend the evening fishing. I've become a little bit addicted, I think, but the hot bar is against me yet again, and I end up accidentally eating an acorn fish, which we need for the museum. And then my notes just say, "What the fuck, Griffin?" So I guess he did something too. We advance again in the chlorite mines, and I do a lot of fishing. So much fishing. I do some winter prep, like getting scarecrows, and head back to fishing. The only fish I need for the autumn tank is that stupid acorn fish that I ate. We finished the cooking altar, and I managed to get an acorn fish before starting the Halloween festivities, which includes trick-or-treating, and I proceed to spend all of my money. But I got a wizard toad, and then I thought maybe I should be worried about decorating my houses. I buy most of my real-life decor during the Halloween season, so we let Rosie do so as well. Not that we get much. We're pretty broke to begin with, and not like we need 100,000 gold or anything. Right? It's the first day of winter, and there's a snackoon blocking the main entrance to my farm. I do buy a leash for the wizard toad, but it does look like he's being pulled around on an invisible leash rather than like hopping after me or something, and it makes me feel bad. So I put him in the Sunhaven house. We spend our night fishing. We need a golden carp, and it feels like the kind of thing that would be pretty rare. Also, there's all kinds of new winter fish to find. The winter equivalent to burning crops is ice cubes, and having the pickaxe out is dangerous because I keep hitting the stupid scarecrow. Guy who sells keepsakes is finally back, and I absolutely fail to notice that there's a richest keepsake a whole $500 cheaper. We meet some military penguins. I guess there are 3 raccoons in a trench coat for winter. At least we can talk to them. We head back into the mines looking for fire crystals. I feel like they were everywhere, but now that I need them, they've become super rare. But we do finish the rare item altar. Bernard shows up to ask me for ingredients for the Winterfest soup. I assume it's like Stardew, and I just put some things in. It'll be a few days before I bother to investigate and realize I'm wrong. And we managed to feed this raccoon who took up residence at the entrance to our farm. Wait, how did Bernard get past this raccoon? We head up to Nelvari because we need some fish for the altar, and I even remembered to give Van a birthday gift. I guess I didn't record me finishing the chlorite mines, but now that that's done, I started on a chlorite axe. We do a run of the chlorite mines and then spend the afternoon fishing in Withergate, only to spend the evening fishing in Sunhaven. It might be safe to say I've developed a bit of a fishing addiction, but also we need fish. In a shocking turn of events, I spend my morning fishing, and then we pop over to Withergate to start seriously working on those 5,000 tickets, and we ride the Ferris wheel, and then I end the day with more fishing. I somehow got it in my head that I really want to clear the winter snackoons too. My plushie collection is not big enough, I guess, but I need cotton. An absolute fuck ton of cotton. Only thing is, cotton is a summer and fall crop. Dreams dashed, I drown my sorrows in more fishing. And we catch the golden carp. We spend most of the day fishing in nelvari, and manage to complete both the fishing and farming altars. To celebrate, we head down to the sewers, because I've never fished there, and I need some for the museum. Today, I pick up all the grape seeds I can afford, and continue to be baffled by all the gold items in the game that are not part of the museum's golden bundle. The false hope is real. Turns out what I do need for the golden bundle is a silk moth and a griffin for our barn. I moved the snackoon out because he was getting a little squishy, and my only option for more barn space is a second barn. We also check out the Midnight Isle, where you have 5 minutes to catch fish, and somehow it's supposed to be monetarily beneficial. It's not like the spawn rate is insane or anything. It might even be worse. which means the majority of the 5 minutes is spent running around an island. Then you cannot run around in a continuous circle, by the way, trying to find the one fish that you can currently catch. Oh look, I finally checked the pot. Thank God I didn't leave it until later, given that I now need enough wheat for 45 noodles. And a baking machine. Not to mention that I've been selling all of my eggs and those red mushrooms. Then I head to the elf mine for museum things. I really wish I picked up the glorite pickaxe before coming here. I woke up in Withergate, did not get the pickaxe, but we get through and catch a few fish before heading back to Withergate and heading into the glorite mines, this time with the glorite pickaxe. After the dailies, I participate in some casual deforestation on my farm before heading into the mines and praying for fire crystals. Then we expand our Withergate farm so we can pretend we might hit 5k before the 100 days. I am still perpetually lost in Withergate. Even the forest screws with my head. Also planted more grapes. Not sold they're actually worth the time it takes to plant them. I learned that I could craft fire crystals, so we finished the foraging altar, and the only two left are monetary, and pretty far away. Just a little status update. We've got 4.2k gold and 336 tickets, and 4 days before we hit 100. It's great. It's great. Why wouldn't it be great? I tried the midnight aisle again because the ticket situation is dire. Not sure it's worth the stress of the time limit, but every little bit helps. Then I head back into the elven mines. A misclick means I used the wrong key, but we did get some of the books we needed for the museum. We make the noodles, and I decide to go after the items for the combat bundle in the museum. When I get bored of that, we go back to the elven mines. We need a bunch of mana crystals and some elven steel, also for the museum. The grapes were unimpressive, but I have all these blue rose seeds I never planted, so we plant them. I mean, the profit percentage on them is 100%, so why not? I also discovered today that if you right-click with the hoe, you can remove the hole in the hoed. I'm concerned it took this long, but in my defense, no one tells you right-clicking with your tools will do anything. Those soul orbs we got from the farming altar are awesome and infinite. They give you seeds back when you harvest them. We do some more fishing, and out of desperation, I head back to the Withergate Forest for the meager amount of tickets those enemies drop. But I'm so close. And I know this is the first time I've done a video like this, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to fudge the line a little bit and give me a couple extra days. There are carolers in front of the tavern. Are they here all winter? I get back on the combat bundle grind today, and then fight a few cacti because they're dropped sell for kind of a bit, and then we head back down to the sea to fish. The blue roses are ready to harvest, and I bought some more cows, hoping to make their milk into cheese, and an extra chicken, because I need those eggs, and we fish. And I complete the large tank at the museum. Are we in the day with some Withergate fishing? I'm 1 fish away from finishing that tank. I caught me a devilfish, and now we finished the Withergate fishing tank, and we complete the winter crops bundle. One last fishing afternoon on the docks completes the winter fish tank. My chests have once again descended into chaos, and we fish some more by clods to end the day. Not sure why, but this pond is a gold mine if you use the bubble. I caught 3 golden carps, and in the 2 hours I was standing here, I caught 41 fish. Don't know why I didn't know this sooner. We drop off the final ingredient for the soup, and tomorrow we will have the gold and tickets we need for the altars. But I still complete the Withergate dailies. Those bulletin board quests are just too easy to ignore. And then I head into the forest for some more museum combat drops. We head to the altars to deposit the last of our offering, and hopefully save the world. The offering works. It apparently proves us to be loyal and capable, and possibly useful in future endeavors. No one tell the dragon I hold no loyalty for him. I end up accepting the glorite sword as my bonus reward. I also really wanted the plushie, but the sword is, like, actually useful. Having saved the world, I head back to Sunhaven. No one is waiting for me. No one even acknowledges what I've done. I know that saving the world should be the prize within itself, but is a, hey Rosie, good job for saving the world, too much to ask for? I don't feel the sense of accomplishment I was seeking. I feel nothing. I guess if you want to see me continue my journey in Sunhaven, give the video like 5 likes or something. 5 seems like a reasonable goal. I had a lot of fun filming this, so hopefully some of y'all had a good time watching it. I know it's not like anything I've ever posted before, and it was an insane amount of work, but I think I really do need an Animal Crossing break, and I mean, no one was really watching those videos anyway. But leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think, if you think I should do more, if you're playing Sunhaven and how you like it, literally anything at all. And of course, if you think you might like to do this again sometime, you can hit that subscribe button. But I will see y'all later. Goodbye.